Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, March 22nd. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Kim Mo-gyeon. Now, before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea reported 415 new COVID-19 cases Monday as cluster infections continue across the nation. As part of efforts to curb the spread, all bathhouse workers will be required to get PCR tests following a recent increase in COVID-19 cases linked to saunas. Israel says the country doesn't expect another wave of COVID-19 as the number of cases continues to drop due to the nation's aggressive vaccination campaign. However, other states that are also vaccinating their populations continue to struggle with new infections. And following the recent shooting that killed 8 people in Atlanta, protests and vigils were held across the U.S. over the weekend, calling for an end to anti-Asian violence. South Korea reported 415 new cases of COVID-19 on Monday, remaining above the 400 mark for nearly a week. Now, of them, 396 were locally transmitted and 19 were from overseas. There was one more death, raising the death toll to 1,697. South Korea's total number of cases is now just over 99,000. As of midnight, more than 676,000 people in South Korea have received the first dose of the vaccine. Beginning today, all bathhouse workers nationwide, including scrubbers, barbers, and clerks, will be required to get PCR tests as bathhouses have become COVID-19 hotspots in recent weeks. This is part of special measures announced by health authorities on Sunday amid a recent spike in the number of infections linked to saunas. Visitors to bathhouses should also check their temperatures and do QR code scans. Also, only one guest per 8 square meters is to be allowed, and monthly passes will not be issued for the time being. Customers and workers will not be able to have conversations, and visitors are recommended to limit use to under an hour. South Korea is due to start administering the COVID-19 vaccine developed by AstraZeneca to people older than 65 beginning tomorrow. First in line are residents and staff at care centers and hospitals, and then others in that age group who are considered vulnerable. Now, also getting doses on the first day will be President Moon Jae-in and First Lady Kim Jong-suk. Our Ji-young reports.
Ramping up its vaccine campaign, South Korea is going to start administering the AstraZeneca vaccine to people 65 and older from this coming Tuesday. Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun urged people to get the vaccine, saying it's been proven safe by researchers at home and abroad.
Through verification by experts, the European Medicine Agency has officially announced that there is no causal relationship between the vaccine and blood clots. The WHO also consistently advises non-stop administration of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Also, our panel of experts has found by examining cases with side effects that the vaccine has no problem in terms of safety.
He added that the government will announce its detailed results and recommendations on Monday. Among those 65 and older, first in line are more than 376,000 residents and staff at care centers and hospitals. At care hospitals, recipients will get the vaccine after a medical checkup by a doctor. At care centers where there's usually no doctor, doses will be given by staff dispatched by the health authorities. And in some cases, the recipient will have to go in person to a local health clinic. Until earlier this month, the South Korean government had postponed the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine for over 65s due to a lack of data on its safety and efficacy. But it decided to allow it based on newer research from the UK. Meanwhile, South Korean President Moon Jae-in and First Lady Kim Jong-suk will get their AstraZeneca jabs on Tuesday. President Moon is 68 years old and Kim is 66. Blue House spokesperson Kang Min-seok said in a briefing last week that they're getting vaccinated ahead of their participation in the G7 summit in the UK in June. The spokesman said that President Moon getting the vaccine on the first day for his age group reflects his determination to address concerns among the public about its safety and efficacy. Ji-young, Arirang News.
Israel's COVID-19 czar says the country doesn't expect another wave of COVID-19 as the number of cases continues to drop due to the nation's aggressive vaccination campaign. However, this isn't the case in many other countries, which are also deep into national vaccination programs. Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
Israel is not going to experience another wave of COVID-19. This is according to the country's coronavirus commissioner, Professor Nachman Ash. In a briefing Sunday, Ash said that while daily figures have not reached the low numbers registered between the second and third waves, the recent numbers have been encouraging despite a wide opening of the economy. These comments come as Israel saw its number of cases drop to 337 on Saturday, the lowest level since November. While the number of tests administered over the weekend is lower than on weekdays, it's still comparatively lower than the 783 cases reported the previous Saturday and the 1,878 cases reported 2 Saturdays ago. The reproduction rate has also decreased to 0.62. In Japan, Tokyo's month-long state of emergency will be lifted beginning Monday after Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga made the announcement last Thursday. Suga cited the reduced infection numbers and hospital occupancy since January. He added Tokyo and its 3 surrounding prefectures have dropped more than 80% since early January. However, according to data from Worldometer, Japan has reported at least 1,000 daily cases for 6 straight days. Brazil continues to struggle. The country has seen over 2,000 COVID-19 deaths every day for the past 5 days. Despite the high fatality rate in Brazil, President Jair Bolsonaro insists on sticking to his economy before health approach, prompting a dip in his approval rating. And there are concerning numbers in Chile, as the South American country reported its highest daily cases of COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, despite widespread restrictions and its vaccination campaign. According to government data, Chile reported 7,084 cases on Saturday, topping a previous record reported in June. COVID-19 is now the country's leading cause of death, accounting for 26% of the country's deaths so far this year. The grim numbers come despite Chile administering vaccine to more than 30% of the population, as well as both doses to 15%. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The COVID-19 pandemic caused the number of international travels around the world to plunge in 2020. According to the UN's World Tourism Organization, the number of international tourists was 381 million, down 74% compared to the previous year. Region-wise, Asia and the Pacific suffered the sharpest decrease, down 84%. The collapse caused an estimated loss of around $1.3 trillion in export revenues, more than 11 times that recorded during the 2009 global financial crisis. Despite the vaccine rollout, the UN does not see a return to pre-pandemic levels happening before 2023. The recent mass shootings in Atlanta are shedding light on racially motivated hate crimes in the United States, with protesters gathering across the country to peacefully demand an end to hate and violence. U.S. President Joe Biden has also addressed the issue, highlighting the need for a change. Our Kim Hyo-sun reports.
Protests and vigils were held across the U.S. over the weekend, calling for an end to anti-Asian violence. People were there to condemn the recent shooting rampage in Atlanta that left 8 people dead, 6 of them women of Asian descent. Hundreds of people gathered outside the Georgia state capitol in Atlanta on Saturday in support of the Asian American community.
While the sun may be out here today to warm our hearts and nourish our souls, this is not a beautiful day to me. The rising violence against Asian Americans needs to stop. All Asian Americans need to stand up and to speak out to stop Asian American hate. Today needs to be a turning point in the violence against our community, and with your help, with your voice, and with your actions, we can stop Asian hate.
Many Asian Americans share their own experiences and stressed that these crimes need to be taken seriously.
I'm here to make sure I am visible. I am one of the people who are living in this country. Even if I am Asian, I am also American. And throughout my personal experience, I always been invisible. But I want to make sure to the world and to the other people that I am here and I am visible. And this hate incident is not acceptable.
Visiting Atlanta late last week, U.S. President Joe Biden highlighted that hate against Asian Americans has been skyrocketing over the past year, especially with a rapid surge in COVID-19 related hate crimes. He said change is needed.
The conversation we had today with the AAPI leaders and that we're hearing all across the country is that hate and violence often hide in plain sight. It's often met with silence. That's been true throughout our history. But that has to change because our silence is complicity. We cannot be complicit. We have to speak out. We have to act.
Marking the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discriminations designated by the UN, Pope Francis tweeted Sunday that racism is like a, quote, virus that mutates quickly and instead of disappearing, goes into hiding. He has been championing the rights of people who are marginalized in society, including migrants, but he did not cite any particular incident in his tweet. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
North Korea says Western countries that have been critical of the regime's human rights condition have also been violating such rights. The regime's foreign ministry on Sunday posted 3 articles on its website pointing to racism and gun violence. It added the EU, as well as much of the West, have been politicizing human rights issues while setting a double standard on the issue themselves. The North said those governments should work on fixing their own issues. And North Korean diplomats have left their embassy in Malaysia. This comes after the 2 countries cut diplomatic ties over the extradition of a North Korean to the United States on money laundering charges. Malaysia expelled North Korean officials and their families on Friday, ordering them to leave the country within 48 hours. On Sunday, they were seen at the airport checking in for a flight to Shanghai. One North Korean official leaving the embassy slammed Malaysia for being subservient to Washington and said the incident was an anti-Pyongyang conspiracy. Ties between North Korea and Malaysia have been virtually frozen since the regime's leader Kim Jong-un's half-brother was assassinated in Kuala Lumpur airport in 2017. Now, following Japan's decision to ban international spectators from attending the Tokyo Olympic Games this summer, the country is set to face economic losses topping $1 billion. The organizing committee said that although unfortunate, they had no other option given the current COVID-19 situation. Our Choi Min-jung reports.
Japan is set to face an economic loss of more than $1 billion following its inevitable decision to ban foreign spectators from the Tokyo Olympics this summer. Citing an economist, Japan's public broadcaster NHK on Saturday reported that the absence of international spectators would lead to a loss of up to $1.38 billion. This is mainly due to the refunds that will be given to more than 600,000 overseas residents who have already purchased tickets, as well as some 300,000 people who bought tickets for the Paralympics. The estimate also takes into consideration the economic damage to the country's hospitality and tourism sector, as it can no longer welcome foreign tourists. The scaled-down Olympic means that the government will not be getting the economic boost it had long been hoping for. Earlier on Saturday, the Tokyo 2020 Organizing Committee announced that overseas spectators will be banned from watching the games in person. The statement said the COVID-19 situation remains very challenging in Japan and around the world, and the decision was unavoidable given the health risks.
It is truly disappointing, but given the COVID-19 situation and in order not to burden the medical situation in Japan, it was an unavoidable decision in order to ensure a safe and secure environment for people in Japan and the athletes and participants coming from abroad.
Regarding local spectators, the committee will meet again next month to decide on letting local fans attend the events in person. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Good morning. We'll need a winter jacket for the first day of the work week. The sprinkle has hit. It felt like sub-freezing in the capital earlier this morning, but highs will rise to the double digits. But the wind chill will make it feel colder than the what thermometer actually shows today. But it's going to be sunny all day, while highs will head into the low teens by the afternoon. Jeju should get up to 12 degrees Celsius this afternoon, along with strong gusts. In fact, Jeju, 전라남도, and the Gyeongsang-Pukto provinces will feel the force of the winds. We'll have a good air quality nationwide. Then, as warmer air returns tonight along with dust, do expect murky skies in many western parts of the country on Tuesday. And sadly, it's going to be dusty for most of the week, with warmer than average temperatures expected under mostly sunny skies. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Korea rolled out its COVID-19